Coming to you from Strings and Things Studio in Ventura, California, this is the Strings Unraveled Book Club. So tonight we are talking about Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple, which is our book for December. So I think we can start off with a little summary that I found. This is straight from Wikipedia. Oh, except I lost the page. Hold on one second. Okay. So after her mother's disappearance, 15-year-old B Branch gathers correspondence relating to her mother in order to ascertain what happened to her. B traces the incident back to her perfect report card. Earlier, B's parents had told her she could have anything she wanted if she got a perfect report card for all her years in school. Because of the previous promise, B convinces her parents, her stay-at-home mother Bernadette and father Elgin, a genius who works at Microsoft, to take her to Antarctica. Though Bernadette is mostly housebound, she delegates the task of making their arrangements to her personal assistant in India, Manjula. Because she is housebound, Bernadette has an ongoing feud with some of the mothers at B's private school, with the main instigator being her neighbor Audrey Griffin. Audrey accuses Bernadette of running over her foot with her car, which Bernadette does not dispute, though it is untrue. B also learns that her mother was once a famous architect, winner of a MacArthur Genius Grant because of her creation of the 20-mile house, so called because it was made from materials sourced from within 20 miles of the home. After she won the grant, Bernadette sold the house, only to belatedly realize that it had been sold to a hostile neighbor who demolished the home out of spite as soon as he attained it. Mm-hmm. After the defeat, Bernadette moved to Seattle, where she had 4 miscarriages before conceiving B. A friend of Audrey's, Sulin Lee Siegel, an admin at Microsoft, goes to work for Elgin Branch. She reveals to him that Bernadette, quote, attacks on Audrey, causing him to question whether to admit Bernadette to a psychiatric institution. As Sulin and Elgin begin an emotional affair, the FBI also contact Elgin to reveal that Manjula is actually a Russian money scamming ring who plan to defraud Elgin and Bernadette. Elgin arranges for an intervention with Bernadette at the dentist to reveal these facts to her, but because of a mistake, the unsuccessful intervention happens at their home with the FBI and police involved. In the middle of the investigation, Bernadette goes to the bathroom and then disappears. B has a place at Choate, and in the aftermath of Bernadette's disappearance, she's sent to the school early. Sulin reveals to Audrey that she's pregnant with Elgin's child, and he has bought them a family home. Elgin and Sulin learn that Bernadette did take the trip to Antarctica herself and go there to confront her, only to have her disappear again. During this time, Sulin also reveals to Audrey that her life is miserable, and the pregnancy is a result of a drunken one-night stand between her and Elgin, who completely regrets the incident. At Choate, B receives a package that contains a bulk of the correspondence used in the novel up to that point. It is revealed that after discovering that accusations she leveled against Bernadette were going to result in her being hospitalized, Audrey helped her escape from her home, showed her all the correspondence between Sulin and her husband, stayed silent when Bernadette decided to go to Antarctica in the hopes that she'd be able to speak privately to Elgin and B there, and sent the package containing all the correspondence to B in hopes that B would understand what happened with Bernadette. B is kicked out of Choate in part because of her manuscript she's putting together. She guilts her father into going on the trip to Antarctica with her in the name of closure, though she secretly believes her mother is hiding there. After nearly giving up hope, B learns of Palmer Station, an American base where scientists work and research. Stealing a boat with her father, B goes to the station where she in fact finds Bernadette, who's surprised to find that her family thought she was dead as she has been sending B a letter. B finds the missing letter after she returns to her old school. The letter reveals that Bernadette went to Antarctica in hopes of reconciling with her husband and daughter and decided to stay for the cruise. While there, she met a scientist who told her about Palmer Station and an architectural project for the South Pole in which every single material would have to be shipped from the U.S., which meant that it was of utmost importance for everything to be designed to complete perfection. Bernadette snuck on board Palmer Station, hoping to work for the project, and sent a letter to B asking for her blessing and telling her she would return home if she did not get it within a specific set period of time. And that is the story.
Okay. So, my favorite thing about this book is that I hated it. I had like a stomach ache. Mm-hmm. I hated it. I did not want to keep reading it in the first portion of it. I hated it.
Okay.
Like visceral hate of it.
Okay.
And at the end, I'm in love.
Yeah.
I have one bone to pick with the ending, but I'll come to that. And then, you asked, what do you guys think of it? And what did we all say?
I loved it.
Well,
I loved
did you love it in the beginning?
No, you're right.
Yeah. I think we all have the same. So by design,
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it because I really felt like she was a little quirky and a very...
When I was reading it, I bought a paper copy of the book to read while I was gone, and when I was reading the paper copy, I really didn't like it, the format of the book. So we should say the format is written in like a series of like letters and emails and invoices and documents and stuff.
It's called an epistolary when you use that.
Okay. And it's got bits of narrative thrown in from B, but reading it was a lot more challenging. Like, it wasn't as light and, like, easy of a read as I thought it was going to be.
You have to piece together clues from the materials in front of you.
Right.
Kind of
but then
like
when
we had to.
But then when I listened to the audiobook version, it was a lot easier to get into the story. So I didn't enjoy it as much at first just because of the format. But then once I got used to it and someone was reading it to me, I liked it a lot more. But, yeah, there are a couple problems that I have with it. But in general, the author's hilarious. I thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. Cute.
But there is some mental health issues in there that are a little challenging to deal with, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know one of my initial reactions is formed by, like, I don't understand mothers who abandon their children. And so you know that immediately.
Right, that she has done that.
Yeah. When I ask Dad why Mom left, he says, it wasn't your fault. But that wasn't what I asked him. I do love that line. Like, but it also, I've heard this, I think it's the same reader who read this other book about an all-girls school of spies. And so, like, I have her in my head as a different
I have a fun fact about the narrator.
Oh, please.
Do you know who she is?
Not really.
I looked her up because she sounded so familiar. Did either of you watch Gilmore Girls?
Yeah.
Yes.
So she's Luke Dane's sister Liz, the, like, hippie lady.
She's hippie Liz?
Yeah.
No, not ringing a bell.
Okay. I had to look her up, and I saw her face, and I was like, "Oh, it's Liz," because I used to love Gilmore Girls. But like once I saw that, I was like, "Oh, it's really obvious."
I didn't make that connection.
I didn't either until I googled it.
Or did it get in your way?
It didn't get in my way. I thought the narrator was really funny.
Sometimes the narration that's B versus the narration that's her mom.
It's a little hard to differentiate between.
Differentiate a little bit, but then, and there's times where. Okay, so she has this virtual assistant from India she's never met. And I'm like, she's divulging so... She's like going on and on like, my husband's doing it. I mean, she's like gossiping. Well, it's
inappropriate for the relationship. But I was like, she's giving them like a lot of access and
information. You have all my passport numbers and you have access to this account and whatever.
But nonetheless...
But it speaks to... who she is.
Well, also, it still sideswiped me that Manjula is a scammer in Russia. Which
you got to that point and you're like, oh crap, no. Oh no.
Okay. Sometimes
it was suspicious how much information she gave her.
In the beginning I had no clue what gender Manjula was. And then she talks about Manjula like she's a girlfriend. I'm like, oh, I didn't get that at all. And then I'm like, okay, even I know you really, but some of that is she's so housebound because of this trauma that happened to her that you'll find out later about in the book.
She's not exactly agoraphobic, though.
No.
She just doesn't want to participate in the world around her. Which, like, there have been times, I think that's more of a depression type of behavior.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that probably narrows down to what she was struggling with was probably just depression. I mean, their
depression, and she got crushed.
Yeah.
Emotionally crushed.
Yeah, what happened
later,
to her
and
project is what.
But that happened before she moved to Seattle, before she got pregnant.
Yeah.
But
Seattle is a complete reaction to the 20 Mile House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She probably could have moved anywhere and hated it. Yes. It didn't have to be Seattle. It was just that's where they landed and she was upset and she hated it.
I love that she like tears apart the city that I really enjoy. And I think the Weston that
that Audrey stays in?
Audrey stays in is right across the street from the place that I like to
That's
stay.
funny.
I meant to look that up.
I loved that scene with Audrey in the hotel, and she's like, "There's loud people down the hall, and my son is trying to sleep," and you're like, "Oh, honey, no,
oh my gosh.
your son is a jerk."
Yeah,
Audrey is in such. Okay, so the main gal, so Bernadette, she has her own mental health issues, right? Her own
Audrey's just
quirky
nuts.
And then Audrey is got this.
Well,
she's in her own denial.
She's the diametric opposite. Like, she's so participating that she's perfect, and nothing in her life could possibly be wrong.
Except clearly she's not participating because her son's a drug dealer.
And her husband is an alcoholic.
And she's not listening to anybody telling her any different.
Everyone's trying to tell the principal, everybody, the teachers, everyone's trying to say your son is a problem.
And she's like, "How dare you attack Kyle like this? Kyle's a good boy."
He is a precious snowflake.
I love the story about the vending machine.
Yeah,
that he
he
ruins the vending machine, and Bernadette's like, "It's fine, it's my fault."
Kids,
and the little boy's like, "I did it."
Yeah, Audrey is a challenging character, but I saw the movie before I read the book, and I kind of envy you that you haven't seen the movie.
But I had to look up the casting.
Yet. Oh yeah, it's helpful that you can see the people, but yeah, it's not available to stream yet because I wanted to rewatch it. Yeah. But the book and the movie are very similar. There's some, like, Audrey in the movie is a little different. Mm-hmm. She's not as hardcore, and the whole thing about the whole it's just a story. It's not, it doesn't have the same format.
So there is
she doesn't have that, like, so at one point Audrey's character, like, 180s and realizes she's been wrong and then wants to help Bernadette, which does happen in the movie, but not to the extent that it does.
There is a trailer that you can watch, but I found one of the things in the trailer that I found distracting was it looks so much like Julia Roberts in Pretty Women that, the way the hair and the makeup was.
Oh, you don't think she's going for that affectation? Because, like, she's coming out of LA.
Mm-hmm. But keep in mind that my first experience with the trailer is it's 30 seconds of this character. And if you hate
trailers.
Yeah.
I call them institutionalized spoilers.
Yeah.
Except once I did realize, the trailer's not helping me at all, that I'm just going to read the book.
It is helpful to look up the cast, though, because I had everybody in my head, what they looked like. But Audrey was a little different in the book than in the movie.
I'm surprised because I can't think of her name right now.
Kristen Wiig.
Thank you. Like, I could see when I saw that she was cast, I'm like, oh my gosh, she is the perfect amount of 11.
I think that she needed to be a little older than she was in the movie, like, because they talk about her gray hair, which she does have, like, grayish, like, brownish hair in the movie, but I feel like it was just not. I don't know. Anyway, she was hilarious, and the movie is worth watching, especially if you've read the book.
I kind of like Audrey at times, and other times I'm like, she is so bad.
Her letters back and forth with Sue Lin are aggravating.
I know. I only like Audrey when
what I wrote?
Yeah, the whole time you're like, I hate Audrey.
I mean, I love Audrey getting her just
This is what I wrote. As soon as you guys
Sue Lin
Yeah,
Sue Lin is the worst. Of all of the characters, she's the worst.
She is the worst. She idolizes. And I do love that she just is going on and on about how great Elgin is, and Audrey is like, I hate you so much.
She does, like, not take the bait at all.
Oh my gosh. Do you not have
at one point
you're not hearing how I'm suffering, and you keep rubbing in my face. I'm like,
at one point she stops calling him Elgin and starts calling him LG. Yeah. And that's the point that you're like, oh no.
I barfed a little.
So that in the book is not in the movie. They don't have an affair. She doesn't get pregnant in the movie.
Oh, good.
She's his assistant, and she's, like, a little too invested, but it's more so just because her and Audrey
what I like
hate
about that
Bernadette.
Happening is that it shows. I mean, I both hate and love this fact of the book is that it is mundane. Like, I hated the mundane nature of this story you're starting.
Just all the
But that is what my life is. Like, it is this mundane thing in the middle of North America.
Being so out there and, like, extravagant, it is a pretty it's a story that's pretty realistic.
And so,
but that's don't you think that's a reaction because their life is so mundane that any little bit of gossip is delightful. Yeah. That's what feeds them that way.
And so, her and Elgin getting together and how they came together with their work relationship turning into something else, but not really, lacking all the depth that his real relationships have.
All in her head mostly. It's all one-sided, except he was feeling emotionally. She took it.
He was just vulnerable.
He was emotionally vulnerable, and she took advantage of it. I blame her.
Yeah.
They say that in the book.
I don't normally. No, I mean,
he made a choice.
I mean, he does have
control over his body.
My favorite thing that I looked at on the casting is that Billy Crudup played the husband, and I hate Billy Crudup. So
he's likable in the movie because he doesn't cheat on his wife.
But now I'll watch it knowing
that he probably
it's really
did.
Alternate dimension.
When I was listening to the book, I was like, no, she's not pregnant. And then I was like, maybe because Sue Lynn's just, she's a little out there. That's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe she's lying about it. Maybe she's just convinced herself that she is, but she's not really. But she did end up actually being pregnant. But the whole time I didn't believe it.
Because she did convince herself
a lot of things
that really
that they were
gonna, a lot of women do,
run off together, and they had this amazing life.
He bought her a house, and they were gonna have their families together. And
so just the simple choices that we make in our mundane lives that can destroy the structure of those lives. So he made a choice to cheat on his wife with this woman, even though he did it at an emotionally vulnerable time. We make simple, stupid choices that ruin our lives.
Yeah.
And then you have to live with the consequences, everyone in the party.
The way that Bernadette dealt with that at the end, I think, at one point I was like, well, she's forgiving a little easy. But at the same time, she also had stake in that, too. Not that she cheated on her husband, but that, she was to blame for a lot of their problems in their marriage just as much as he was.
Yeah.
So it's not like she could have been like, how dare you do this to me? Because she did a lot of crap to him that wasn't cool, too.
Well, didn't he say something like, I turned to find my marriage and it was not there?
Something like that, maybe.
Okay, one of the things I kind of took issue was how fast all this happened. The child's starting school, but the story starts in November because Christmas is a month away.
Yeah.
When he's bought her the house, it's only January. Yep. Well, middle of January. So they have this affair. How does she even really... And he bought her a house before her first period is even really missing. Right.
She's not even hardly into her first
trimester. I'm sure about that timeline.
Because they talk about in the other part when they're going after her, it's like the girl had started school.
Yes. She started at the second
Something
term.
About that they talk about it's like mid-January or something.
And she wasn't there very long.
No.
You're right. And so just because I
she's there a couple weeks and they're like
February 21st is the end of the book.
So we're talking November, December in 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
And
3
right
months,
about
maybe.
in the middle of that is when he had this affair and she got
that's
one night. It's not really an affair. It's a one-night stand.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, it is an affair, but yes.
But she misses one period and he's buying her a house.
I don't think I'll be talking out of turn about this, but I have a friend who, from high school, she's one of the dearest people I've ever known. We're not close now, but she's amazing. And the story speaks to her amazingness. Her husband had a one-night stand with a woman and got her pregnant, and
it takes once.
She was going to stand by the marriage, and he committed suicide. So there were other things in his
other problem,
that probably led him to those kind of destructive behaviors. But I don't know him, so I cannot judge. So here she is. She's a single mom with her baby, and he cheated on her while she was pregnant. And the other woman with her child, and neither of them have this man in their life anymore. And so they have these girls are growing up as the closest sisters.
No.
And so you can out of insane scenarios, you can live.
You can make it work.
Make something real of it. I kind of wanted her to be dead and gone.
Really?
Not because I wanted the end of Bernadette.
She has no place really in this dynamic.
I like that she has her redemption. But
oh, you mean Bernadette? I thought we were still talking about Celia.
I kind of wanted them to never find Yes.
I also want Sue Lin dead, and
carrying
that's
an innocent baby.
That's
so.
Well, okay, not that. Is she, or is she lying still? Because I mean, honestly, we don't know.
So, I mean, no, because when Sue Lin has her, like, confession email, you know that she's telling the truth, that everything's in the shit.
Yeah.
There's something, I mean, I absolutely love the reuniting. I love the daughter seeing the t-shirt at the bottom of the pan so that it doesn't, you don't hear the dripping.
I wanted her to still be around and for them to find her just for B's sake. Because if they hadn't, it would have, I don't know how that would have.
That would have been a very depressing ending.
Yeah.
Here's this person with mental health. She runs off, and then you never see her again.
So, I want to talk about the main problem I had with this book is that, you know, Elgin and whoever else, you know, they believe that she's mentally ill, that she needs help, which I would argue she is and does need help.
Yeah.
But the book and the movie lead you to believe that all she needs to do is to get back to creating and everything will be taken care of, right?
No.
Which is like, okay, sure, that makes a good book, but also it totally disregards the need for mental help in general, because a lot of people struggle with those issues and they can't just go back to their former lives and get back to what they were doing and everything be okay.
No, so it's sort of not everyone can go to Antarctica and have a life-changing.
So it negates the fact that a lot of people probably, and a lot of people who read this book probably feel like Bernadette sometimes.
See, I wonder if she's kind of autistic because of how she likes everything lined up a certain way. She's very creative, but she likes things exact. I was thinking about when she was an architect, the way she reacted, because remember, and yes, she had a horrible neighbor.
Talked about her being a knitter.
Oh, I know. There's a whole part of the book about how she knits sweaters.
She's like making, and she goes onto the construction site, and she's evaluating.
She's got like a little bag with her ball of yarn, and she's knitting sweaters while talking to like contractors and stuff.
Awesome.
That was amazing. That part was in the movie too, which I loved that.
Then we'll get back to my book.
Didn't we all find a little bit of Bernadette's mental health in our own?
I'm sure everybody can relate with it somehow.
And autism isn't mental health. Autism is brain.
No. But how she reacts to things, because going to Seattle, because you know what, it even alludes to, yes, she had a horrible neighbor, but she kind of kept provoking. The two of them were feeding each other, and she would do things to provoke in the same way that. Sure, she cleared out her brambleberries. And then she put a billboard sign saying, F you all.
Like, hello, you knew that was
she knew. So the whole time she's like, I'll do what you say. Whatever you want, Audrey.
I mean, it was Audrey's fault that the whole...
and Audrey admits eventually that, that was a bad idea and I did it because, whatever. But
are you saying provocation is a sign of her autism?
No, I'm saying that...
Because that's where I identify
I'm saying...
That red billboard.
As a person on the spectrum, there are times where I find myself less tolerant when I think that things should flow a certain way and other people don't respect the order.
I can see that.
And in which case it's not a mental health issue, but it is a behavioral issue that the way that the book handles mental health in general is not great. It makes light of her issues because her or Elgin in the when they do the intervention, him and the psychiatrist or whatever, it's like kind of funny the way that like the psychiatrist is like not getting through and like not being heard, and it's like making it like the whole intervention scene is kind of funny the way it plays out, but it's not like that could have been helpful to her. I
didn't feel like it was funny. I felt like it was scary.
No, I felt it was kind of an ambush.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was.
Completely an ambush. Yeah. It was not an intervention, and I think he was so.
No, it wasn't an intervention.
Yeah, interventions are ambushes.
She talks about it being the old rejected style.
But I don't feel like Elgin felt it was an intervention. I felt like he had a problem he was tired of dealing with, and he kind of wanted it to go away.
I think he was just afraid that
pushing and pushing and pushing.
Yeah,
but I mean, there is something dangerous about your child is digging in the dirt through the floorboards because the brambles have come up under your house.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing to learn about.
Dangerous things happening.
So I think it was interesting how they illustrated his point of view of viewing her behaviors. Mm-hmm. I don't know, when he pens the letter to the to the doctor, I really felt like I understood how much he loves her.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing it because he's tired of it and just wants it to be over. I think he's doing it because he's honestly worried and scared for his partner that he loves.
And he doesn't know how to help
And he doesn't know how to help her.
Yeah, but okay, the child's 9 years old. At
No,
this
she's
point,
15.
Or she's 15. Wait.
You were talking about that's
That's
how long he let it go on.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
He has let this go on. The child was like a toddler, and she could dig through the dirt through the floorboards because she dug it up because the bramble
because her carpet was all mushy and she could dig right through the wood. Yeah,
but he in his own right has let this go on and on and on. He hasn't. She, just like Bernadette was in denial about having a problem. He's kind of been in denial and kind of enabled things. He just figured he just keeps working really hard because if he gets her whatever she makes sure she has enough to have this star child, cared for in whichever way her quirkiness. And I think maybe he felt like maybe in the beginning he really had hopes that she would fix up this. I just think it's hysterical. For her. I think it's hysterical that it used to be a reform school for girls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it didn't get reformed.
Yeah, it's her. When they moved to Seattle, she finds this place and she's excited about it initially because she's like, "Oh, this is a project that I can work on." But I think that, it was it was sad to see that it was in like such a state of disrepair.
And I think I don't think it was quite as bad as as time went on. I mean, it was bad, but it was livable because there was always the hope that somehow she would come around.
She was going to work on it, and she never did.
No.
Yeah.
But it made me feel like maybe in their marriage, things have been going apart for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So.
I didn't. He talks about that phenomena, like living with it. And letting it get worse and getting used to it as it gets worse.
But why doesn't he take responsibility for that?
Because he's busy and he's got other things to think about.
Because they're all doing it as a family. It's like
they're all living around it and not talking about the elephant in the room.
It's a shared...
The bramble elephant.
Thing.
Yeah.
What is that called? Like it when you share a delusion.
Yeah.
It's not that, but it's like that.
One of these questions, so in the back of the paper book there's questions for topics and discussions. One of them that I like says that Bernadette often behaves as if she's an outsider. Do you think she actually is, or do you think that her feelings are just self-imposed and she's not that different from everybody around her?
I think she works hard to be an outsider.
Yeah, she likes to think of herself as like the complete 180 of like the typical Seattle woman. So she dresses in, she tries to be stylish and she, and not that, whatever, it's different from how Seattle women dress. She does the exact opposite. They're more casual, laid back, outdoor. She's
more LA style.
Yeah. So she works hard to let people know
but I think
that she does not like it there.
But I also think that's the antagonist in her that wants to, just like the war that she had with her neighbor in LA over the driveway and the things she would do to provoke.
Right.
I think her style of dressing and othering herself was also a way of, I'm not like you. I don't have to deal with things because all of the things that are weird are because of you. It's your problem.
Besides Sue Lynn, were there any characters that you also really didn't like, regardless of if they were likable or not? Because I had a hard time with B, because I get really tired of the like overly precocious child trope. Like every kid in every movie is like hilarious so or a genius, and it's like, okay, I get like it. I think it would have. I don't think that serves the story that much that she is so.
I liked her better when I found out what
her backstory. She used to be. Well, she says she used to be sick, and she's had a heart problem.
I liked her a lot better when I learned that's where she was coming from.
Having been the only child, raised as an only child, that obnoxious precociousness is pretty typical.
Yeah, but it's over the top in media, like books and movies and stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
To an extent that, like, no kid is like that, you know? That's not a real kid.
And she helps with the Red Cross. And no, she doesn't.
No, but she does a million things, and she's, you know, extra. She's a genius. She's extra smart.
Okay, but most of the time when kids are doing that, they're doing that because it's going to look better. Not because they're necessarily super kind in their heart, though maybe some are.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to discount that, but I think a lot of times there's that motivation of, if you want, you know, she's worked really hard to keep her grades up and all of that, to get into the right kind of school.
I also think that she probably flourished because she had so much of her mother's attention.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, she was there for her all of the time, and they were best friends, so I think that...
I hate that.
Yeah.
I love my daughter. I love playing with her. I love camaraderie with her, but I am not her friend.
Yeah.
I don't want to be her friend. I love her.
It's like Lorelai Gilmore. Like, that's not a mother, that's a buddy, you know?
Icky.
Yeah. But it served to, you know, be well, because she was, I wouldn't say well adjusted, but she's, you know, an extraordinary child, which bothered me. But also the way that she spoke, like her narrative and like all her like dialogue and stuff seemed so much younger to me than 15.
Yeah, see, I didn't think she was 15. I thought that
she seemed like a 12-year-old.
Are you sure?
Well, her friend
I thought they
turned
said
15.
Yeah, she's 15. Or she's turning, or she's, yeah, because she's going into high school, so she'd be like 14, 15.
Yeah. I guess I never really quite made that connection of, I thought she was leaving elementary and going to the next, because
she's
because
she's an 8th grader.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. So she's leaving the because, you know, I think even though her parents were, what did they call them? Like Volvo parents or something.
Oh, yeah, Mercedes parents. Yeah.
But I think they treated her.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like that guy.
Ollie O is so obnoxious. They treated her
like she was a Mercedes.
Yeah.
You know? That she was just that she was smarter than all those other kids.
But she was. I mean, like...
She was.
I mean, yeah, she was, but... Yeah.
And while she was highly privileged, she wasn't stuck up or self-centered.
That's another
Except
part of this book is like,
part.
I can only feel so sorry for rich white people, you know?
That's one of the stomachache things.
Yeah.
Like, your husband is a super successful executive at Microsoft.
Yeah. And you have all the time and all the money in the world to do whatever you want.
Like, what is
you're living in a dump.
What? Yeah. Well, I thought I don't judge.
Yeah.
No.
But,
that's like apart from the mental health issues in her character, but
true.
like...
But in the beginning of the book, in the beginning of the book, you don't know the extent of her mental health issues.
No,
and she just seems like this...
Also, you don't know what kind of dump it is, too. You just know that the neighbor don't like it.
She doesn't have a regular job. She doesn't have a job. She's just a creative person. I didn't get the need for a personal assistant.
Yeah, except that she was too afraid to do everything herself.
Yeah. And she wanted to hide it from her husband because he...
Yeah, he tells her to stop using it, and she keeps doing it.
40 hours a week at 75 cents per hour US dollars.
Mm-hmm.
That sounded realistic.
But that made me sick to my stomach. Like, we're encouraging slave wages again.
The thing is that, I mean, we'd have to look at an exchange chart and the average wages to speak to this, but it is not, that probably would be like a good living in India, like,
yeah,
because of exchange rates. I'm not justifying, I'm just saying, like,
yeah, it just seems wrong.
Sure. I think that was supposed to sit wrong with you.
Yeah,
good.
You know? They made a point to tell you a couple times that's how much.
This is how much per. So, you know, sign the contract for $37.50 per month.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is disgusting. I don't want to discount your point.
What did you think about the structure of the book? The way it was written?
Well, I think it was very effective.
Yeah.
Because
you don't think it would have worked the same if it had just been a simple narrative?
A linear?
No, because I think part of the style of the organization of the book was to keep us as
kind of imbalanced,
off kilter, as off kilter as the people living it.
That's true,
because you only ever get like a limited, like
you sort of have to piece together what's happening through all these different little avenues,
and that keeps you engaged. Because if they just told I do appreciate she's not handing everything out in a clear line. She makes me work for it, and really, I mean, at first it was difficult to follow, but I'm like, okay.
You can read between the lines of the way that the different characters are talking, and you can sort of get an idea of them. Like Sue Lin, like, you know that she's, like, deluded. Like, she's fooling herself.
Oh, absolutely.
Just by the way that she writes to Audrey. And the way, oh my gosh, it bothered me so much. That part when they're in, like, the meeting, and she's talking, she's, like, IMing Elgin while he's trying to, like, whatever, and she's like going on and on and on about victims against victimhood and like all these tips and tricks, and it's like, this is, number one, not your place, and number two, not the place for this. And he's like, I love the way he responds. He's like, I'll read this all later, I'm a little busy right now, or whatever.
It's like, this is a place of business. Keep your personal.
She was the hardest character to get through, but I also really loved listening to her letters.
And please refer to, I hate Sue Lin so hard. I still hate her.
Yeah.
I don't feel sorry for her. She brought this upon herself, but that's the black and white judgmental person.
Well, she's an exceptional child too. Like, her whole department got laid off, and she
got saved and gets to go. Yeah.
And she got a promotion.
Yeah,
which kind of also makes
she's an exceptional child too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did want to go to Antarctica.
I was just going to ask, does it make you want to go to Antarctica? Yes.
Totally.
And also to listen to that album, which came out of Deborah's box.
Yep.
What?
It's the Beatles album she's listening to, which is
the
Abbey
last
Road,
one. Yeah, Abbey Road.
Yeah.
I was asking James, I was like, do you want to go to Antarctica with me? And he was like, yes.
Yeah.
My dad was telling me he has a friend that has been to Antarctica, and I talked to him about it like a couple months ago, and he was like, it was amazing. I'm like, I want to go to Antarctica now.
Did we talk about favorite characters?
No, who's your favorite?
Those two girls living in Antarctica.
Oh, yeah, I love them.
How do you even
so
learn about
chill.
that? Yeah, how do you even learn about that as an opportunity?
Through college.
The two British girls that live on the island, and they're like so excited to talk to somebody, and they play Risk with B for hours. They're so cute.
I hate Risk. So to be so desperate for human contact,
they're like, we'll play Risk with you.
Sign up for a Risk game.
They're cute. I love them.
And they're not even in beds. They're sleeping on the floor
and peeing in a bucket.
Peeing in a bucket. But they're so chill because they're.
Yeah, I love them.
There was someone else that was on the boat too that she referred to that I thought was fun.
I thought you'd like the penguin counter.
The noise?
No, the guy. Like, he's just like focused on his thing. I can't wait to get back to the ice.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. I loved all the scenes in Antarctica and on the boat and like on the cruise.
Okay.
And it was...
So I grew to love Bernadette when she saw an opportunity to just.
I loved her the whole time.
But I really,
I was on her side the whole time.
I felt
maybe because I knew what was going to happen.
In the beginning, I thought she was really quirky. I kind of liked her quirkiness, and I wanted to see where it was going to go. And then I was like, "Oh, girl, why are you talking to that guy over the internet?" But then, I really felt like I got to love her when she was in Antarctica. She finally was coming back to who she used to be.
Yeah.
She's not. It wasn't going to be the end all and be all, but she was. She's willing to work in the kitchen and just do whatever. And the snooty scientist was like, I did, and she's like, okay, whatever. Bye.
Yeah.
It helps though that I think the person Googled her and knew who she was.
Yeah.
You know.
I am that awkward person with most situations. Like, I never really clicked with a lot of people at my children's schools ever. Mm-hmm. I doubt that I will.
That would be me if I had children. I'd be like, I don't want to talk to these other moms.
Thankfully, my children made friends with cool kids who have some cool moms, so I have some dear mother friends. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how to be in that situation. And
be the PTA mom.
I feel like I could have related to Bernadette. If I had children in school, I would be Bernadette. Like, roll up the window. I don't want to talk to this lady. Let's get out of here, you know?
I rolled over your foot.
Yeah. Oh, no, your foot. Yeah.
All those years of homeschooling and being part of a co-op, I still was Bernadette. I still didn't connect to the same way, but...
That's the thing I like about that show, Dollface, is she's like, how do you do this girl thing?
Yeah. What else can we talk about? So this question says, the idea of going to Antarctica becomes too much for an already frazzled Bernadette to bear, but the trip itself turns out to be exactly what she needed. How do the other characters in the novel experience their own breakthroughs? So hers is going to Antarctica.
Elgin's is going to Antarctica because he quits his job.
He steps away from his job.
I think Elgin's is realizing that Sulin is pregnant, because then he quits his job, and then
he quit before. You're right. That he does not want something different also, that he wanted what he had with Bernadette.
And at the end of the book,
because he really loves Bernadette.
Yeah, at the end of the book, it's all about, like, we have to try our hardest to get back to where we were, because that's all that Bea wants, and that's all that Elgin wants, and that's all that Bernadette wants, is to go back to their own little happy family. So, yeah, I think he realized at that point, like, I need to rein everything back in and try and fix this.
But maybe it's when Sulin was pregnant, before he finally got the wake-up call of, you've been sleepwalking through your life and letting things go, and here's where it got you.
And maybe for Bea, it's arriving at Choate.
Because she had a hard time.
But she had her heart, I mean, and she even had to defend.
Because it was her mother's...
Was it her mother's?
She was no, her mother didn't want it for her.
You're right, but it was her mother's alma mater.
The thing that her mom and her dad always talked about. Mm-hmm. So living in your parents' image. So she learned that she needed to, like, find her own way.
Yeah.
But maybe a lot of what she was doing up until that point, with all the extracurricular activities, was living up to the gifted child. Sometimes your parents put a lot of expectations, and you don't want to I will tell you, being the only child, anyone who has expectations of you, you want to live up to. You don't want to disappoint.
Yes, I would argue that sometimes it's easy to go the opposite direction, because I was in the gifted intelligent program in school and whatever, and everybody told me all the time how smart I was, and more at school. Not that my parents didn't care, but they didn't push it on me. So my teachers told me all the time, and when I got to middle school and high school, I was like, I don't want to work that hard. So I didn't, and I got terrible grades in high school because I was like, I know I'm smart, and I think part of it was that I was bored. I wasn't challenged. So they make a point in the book to talk about challenging Bea, and otherwise she's going to be bored at Choate,
Yeah.
So they want to put her ahead in a grade so that she doesn't fall back on, not living up to her potential. So for me, it was the opposite, that I was like, I don't want to work this hard. And everybody was like, oh, you got a D on this test, or like whatever. I'm like, I honestly just don't care.
See,
it was tired of this.
Here's our age differences. It's just, that was a fairly new program going in, and most kids they noted that and were able to pick them out, like, by 5th or 6th grade. But because of our situation, it was halfway through 8th grade before I even got into the gifted program. And for me, it gave me a purpose. It gave me something to focus. It gave me school was the one thing I could focus on that was going to be stable. Everything else around my life was crap, but school was stable. And gifted, I could thrive there. I didn't have to. It gave me opportunities to take better classes.
I don't think
for me.
I don't have the feeling that her parents were telling her to achieve.
I don't think she was getting that pressure from her parents. I think she just wanted to live up to their to what they were.
To what they were, but I never felt that they were putting out things for her. In fact, she didn't even know what her story was. Her mother's, because she told her that she won the MacArthur Genius Award.
And then
she didn't really know her mom's story. Or the heights that she, aspired to. And so
I think maybe they were just so tight that she was afraid of disappointing them.
Well, that's it. Actually, is there the chance that she was doing all these things to separate herself from her parents and to be apart from them?
Well, when she went to Choate, she didn't actually have any problems until she got the packet with all the documents.
I think she had all her problems until she got the packet.
Yeah, because she didn't like her roommate. Her roommate didn't like her.
And they were saying she was not engaging. She wasn't talking to anybody. She wasn't, participating in anything until then she got sucked into working on her book.
But I thought maybe she had this grand expectation because of all the glorious stories her parents told.
Yeah.
But her reality was not. It might have been awesome when her parents went.
And
it was. But
I come back to it's about breaking free from them, even though it's in their mold, because her mom is begging her not to go.
Yeah, she's guilting her into I'm gonna miss you so much.
And she thinks it's. I think she does the thing. She's motivated by making her own way and breaking free of. It is very tied to expectations, as I talk it out, because everybody expects her to be fragile and delicate.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
Special care, and she's like, "Stop it now! I'm just
look
copying.
at what I can do."
And
yeah,
poor
I can
child.
go.
Your mother is throwing you into the wolves over there, and she's like, "I chose it."
I like when she says, "Oh, you must love Kyle a lot more than my mom loves me." She's like, "I would never send my child to a boarding school." I love when she stands up to Audrey when they're having the confrontation. She's like,
she's practically screaming her head off, like, "You."
It's so
That's
funny.
when her precociousness pays off.
Yeah, that's true. I liked her then.
Can talk because she can hold her ground with adults.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is probably a strength of her upbringing is that she can hold her own with adults.
Yeah.
Well, that was
I love this book.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was fun to listen to. The movie I thought was cute, so when it comes out, I would recommend watching it, especially if you've read the book. It was cute.
I was very disappointed that I couldn't find it someplace. That it's not yet on Amazon Prime or Netflix or anything like that yet.
And I love Cate Blanchett so much. It was like, I will watch anything with her in it.
I would love her. When I realized who it was, I'm like, I totally want to see this.
Yeah.
So you said that you I saw that there's 2 other books by this author. Which one did you get?
Today Will Be Different.
There's Today Will Be Different, and this one is mine. This was her first, I think, and then she's got 2 more.
Okay, so I looked at the Today is Different and is going to be different.
Today Will Be Different.
Today Will Be Different, and I almost clicked that one for my next book, but I saw the number of, and I never do this, but I don't know why I did this time. I never pay attention to how many stars somebody else gives something, because I figure I want to experience myself. But I decided I'm going to try Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine.
I hear that one's good too. It's recommended.
I've been recommended that multiple times, and I've not read it yet.
I'm going to give that one a try.
When do we announce our next book for the book club? I forget.
I think we do it during the episode, so I might have to put it in here because we haven't picked one yet.
So should I get the
pot? We could pick one. So we put we each picked 3 books and threw them in a pot, and Drew went out.
Oh yeah, it's up there.
So this was my pick last month, so I've got 2 left. I don't even remember what I put in there.
Well, wouldn't it be a fun surprise? So we let the person who chose last.
You said you want to choose, so hand me the owl.
Or I was gonna say Karin could choose.
Okay.
So our book for January is
Grapes of Wrath.
Oh, all right. Sweet.
Oh, I've never read that.
Okay. I own it already, but I'm still going to listen to it. I've never finished it.
It's one of those books I was supposed to read in high school, and I never did.
And as a homeschool mom, I had Ian read through it.
But have you read it?
Actually, I read it with him, but it's been a long, long time. It's been a lot.
Because the qualifier is that we shouldn't have read it.
Okay,
so we could disqualify
I don't remember the books.
Okay.
I've got Henry Fonda in my head.
He's not as hot as Gene Kelly.
That was a different episode of the podcast. These people are not going to know what you're talking about.
This comes out later.
I know.
Yeah. Wait, are you only listening to our book club, guys?
We have monthly podcasts. Okay,
they're longer. You get more of us.
So if you want to listen with us, we're gonna review Grapes of Wrath in January, and I can tell you when. It was most likely be January 13th. Will be when that episode comes out.
I love that author.
I love that.
When I was in college, I read Winter of Our Discontent. Whiny, complaining, but I still loved it. It was a very depressing book, I loved it. And it's about his life actually. Oh. It's set in Monterey. Near Cannery Row.
My husband's cousin did her thesis on him. I've never read her thesis, but she knows everything there is to know about John Steinbeck.
Well, he's California.
Yeah, yeah, and I like that. Like my first book I loved from him was The Red Pony. It's very approachable book. I read.
I've never read any Steinbeck.
Mice and Men is very good.
Mm-hmm. I have read that. I did read that.
I like the little one.
I did read that one.
Well, Winter of Our Discontent.
How long is Grapes of Wrath?
Okay,
It's a little longer.
Oh, no.
I will say, Winter of Our Discontent, he's not very content because it's a thinner book.
There's something...
But he describes the streets and the houses, and I totally want to go there. Okay, but that's a different book, so... Yeah. Grapes of Wrath is also set in California during...
I'm not opposed about talking about other books that relate to the books that we choose.
Well, I like it. We studied that when we were studying that period of history.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Grapes of Wrath is 21 hours long.
Yeah. So start now.
That's a lot of book. I'll do my best.
But the characters, you're going to love
it's
the characters.
It's halfway between. So it's like, Hum If You Don't Know the Words was halfway between. So 9 hours for the one we just finished.
I think I can handle
Hum
it.
If You Don't Know the Words was 14 something. 21? Yeah, that's great. But I've been wanting to read it because I think I only made it through the first couple chapters as a high schooler. Because it really kind of relates to where we are, I think. Climate change, economics, politics.
You could draw some parallels.
Yep. Okay. So it felt like a very timely choice. So thanks for the nudge because I want to read it. So.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right.
Cool. Well,
Talk to y'all later.
We'll see you in January.
Read on.